excuse to be on Facebook. It's for school. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to just align this stuff as much as possible, because that's exactly what real adult life is like. We align. Everything's all in one big ball. We constantly learning and doing stuff and working and all this. It's not separated out into different textbooks and classes and all that. It seems to me it makes sense to just combine it all together. Well, cool. But I didn't know there were so many of you. There's been a lot of kids coming around here and talking to me.
Yeah, there's a bit.
Yeah. Do you think that this whole innovation lab thing, does it work as a? Does everyone just doing their own thing, or does it work as a group?
It kind of depends. Like, we work as a group, but then some people work individually. So it kind of depends on what type of person you are, I think.
So it isn't really any one kind of thing. It's not one. Do you feel like you're part of one, group? That sounds like you don't feel like you're part of one group.
And sometimes I do. Like when we're talking about working next year to get the building set up for the homeless, I know a lot of people are involved in that. And even though I'm not like in the human trafficking class, I still am updated with all that information. So at that aspect, it feels like we're bigger.
Is this a really different kind of thing happening here than is happening in the rest of school? Is this really, or is this basically study hall? When Monica first described it to me, it sounded like study hall, but you could talk. Is kind of is what it sounded like.
Some days it's kind of like study hall, but then other days, like if we went to a different high school and talked to the ESL kids there. That didn't feel like study hall. That was kind of more of like a interactive outdoor class.
I think it's kind of like learning the balance. Like, we've been struggling with it some, learning when we should be talking and just like hanging out and having a study hall, or when we need to be focusing on learning Spanish. It's like, since we don't have a teacher, we kind of had to learn the balance on our own.
Well, yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's my life is all about constantly having to solve different kinds of problems and learn stuff that I need to do, and nobody tells me when to do it. I just have to sort of fit it in and figure it out, and so sometimes I just procrastinate on something and play games, and other times I really feel like studying that day. And meanwhile, I'm constantly traveling, so I have to do this in hotel rooms and all that. So we all just kind of muddle through. The whole experience of school as somebody telling you what to do and telling you when to do it is not at all the way ordinary life is, unless you get a certain kind of job, I guess, where people tell you what to do and when to do it. In which case, you probably don't need a lot of school to work at a job like that, since everyone's telling you what to do. But the jobs that are really interesting are the jobs where you have lots of freedom, and you get to make your own decisions all the time about where you're going to go, what you're going to do today. That's a lot more satisfying, at least for me. And my wife is like that. See, I like to contrast my wife with me, because I am very well known and I make a huge amount of money, and my wife makes no money and nobody knows about her. But I can't do what I do unless my wife does what she does. So she's at home where she likes to be, and she takes care of everything, and she does all the paperwork for the business, and she makes sure that people pay us and all this stuff. I actually never see any of the money that I make. It goes right to her, and she organizes the money and does things with it. But the thing is that she's really happy being in that environment. That's the thing that, she didn't get any training to do that. She just had to learn all to do it. And school didn't really prepare her for that, I guess. Maybe a little bit. She has an English degree, and she does write letters, so there's that. the point is that's not a career, you know, that she set out like, I'm going to do this. It's one of those things that you just fall into life with, like, she ended up with me, and I started this business, and in order to get things to make it work, it turned out that I don't have time to do all this invoices and all that stuff, and I needed her to do that because we couldn't trust. I could hire someone, but we couldn't trust. Really can't really trust anyone when you're in a family business outside of your business to take care of things like money. So, so we as a team we're able to do this stuff, and it's great because I do what I like to do, and she does what she likes to do, and you know everything's wonderful. And it's all kind of a muddle though. That's the point. Is it's all kind of a muddle, and there's no real a right way to do it or anything like that. So you're getting a taste of that. And really, school is an artificial world that doesn't have an analog in the rest of life very much, where somebody knows what you have to do and all the stages of it and what tests you have to pass and when you have to take them. There's nothing like that in ordinary life that I can think of offhand, unless of course you're a professor for a living. Then I guess you have that for a long, long time. So anyway, that's why I like the Innovation Lab, because it's kind of relaxing. It's relaxing these artificial constraints and letting people experience what it's like to be self-determined, the way normal adults are. So I hope you take advantage of it. Sounds like you are. And that sounds kind of cool, though, using Facebook. It didn't occur to me that you could use Facebook to help learn a language, but I guess that actually makes a lot of sense. I imagine also YouTube and other kinds of things like that, watching videos, watching foreign movies, that sort of thing probably is a way to do it too.
Yeah.
Do you think you're actually going to need Spanish in your life, though?
I want to.
Yeah, I want to use it in my life.
In my life, yeah.
You want to use it? Mm-hmm. Like doing what? Doing the traveling, you mean? Just traveling around
Traveling
South
for,
America?
Possibly medical use and using it there.
That's a good point. So you want to do medical school, maybe?
Possibly.
And if you did, then one interesting thing might be practicing medicine in other countries, especially in situations like disasters and something like that. Then it would really come in handy.
And that's why we've been focusing on like the speaking part, so that because when you go to another country, it's not very often that you're writing things down.
Exactly, it's all speaking.
Yeah,
it's all speaking, and knowing parts of speech and all that. I mean, English is my first language, and I struggle to remember what a preposition is.
Yeah.
I never need to know that in order to use prepositions. I don't need to know their name. Yeah, that's a good point. In my business, everyone speaks English everywhere in the world. It's the official language of software technology is English. So I've been around the world twice this year. I've never had any need, not even the most littlest need to know any other language. Everyone wants to speak English. They want me to practice. But you've reminded me that there are other lines of work, like, for instance, medical, where your patient may not speak English, and that's it. You won't be able to communicate to them. You may really need language in a big way if you're doing that. That could very much increase your versatility and ability. That makes a lot of sense. I would like to learn another language, but I have no problem I need to solve that requires me to learn a new language. And I find that it's really hard for me to learn something if I don't have a problem that I need to solve. That's one reason why I think Facebook is so cool, because once you make friends who speak other languages and you want to talk to them, well, there you go. That's a reason. That's a really important reason to learn it, because otherwise you can't connect, and you become world citizens besides. So yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, I'm glad to have gotten that perspective from you. I have a hard time learning languages too. It's just not something. I'm a smart guy, but I'm not smart about languages.
You guys need to leave.